Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our curious viewers, Typo Terror 98. Thanks for the suggestion, Terror. You asked, why is red ink always used for corrections? We've all been there, turning in an assignment, feeling pretty confident, only to get it back looking like it barely survived a horror movie. But why is it always red? Is there some deep psychological reason? Or did teachers just collectively decide that our self-esteem should be color-coded in pure judgment? Well, today, we're digging into the history, science, and even some school controversies behind red ink. And by the end, you might just see those terrifying marks in a whole new light. Let's get into it, right here on Explaining Everything. First off, why red? Well, the color red is basically the human brain's version of a fire alarm. It screams, "Look at me!" It's associated with danger, warnings, and, if you're a bull, an existential crisis. Studies show that red grabs attention more than any other color. It raises heart rates, increases alertness, and apparently makes students sweat through their exams. Teachers didn't just pick red ink randomly. It's an unmissable color, perfect for pointing out every single thing you did wrong. Imagine if corrections were in pastel yellow. You'd never see them. Or worse, in soft blue. You'd just assume your teacher was gently agreeing with your mistakes. The use of red ink for important stuff isn't new. In ancient China, emperors signed official documents in red ink, and using red to write their names was considered disrespectful. Because, no one wanted their name associated with execution orders. Meanwhile, medieval monks, aka the original grammar nerds, used red ink in manuscripts for corrections, important notes, and fancy capital letters. They called it rubrication, from the Latin rubrica, meaning red ochre. That's right, your teacher's red ink is following a 1,000-year-old tradition. So, next time you get a test back covered in red, just tell yourself, I'm basically a medieval manuscript now. Aside from historical reasons, let's be real. Teachers grade hundreds of papers. They need something bold and easy to see. Imagine using light pencil or, gasp, yellow highlighter. They'd go blind before winter break. In the early 20th century, when mass education became a thing, red pens became the go-to correction tool because they were cheap, visible, and terrifyingly effective. Also, let's give teachers credit. They don't want to traumatize students. They just need a color that screams, "Hey, fix this." Believe it or not, some schools have actually banned red ink because they think it's too harsh. Schools in the UK, Australia, and parts of the US have switched to green, blue, or even purple because apparently red ink hurts feelings. I mean, sure, seeing your essay look like it lost a battle with a ketchup bottle isn't fun, but let's be honest. Would getting the same corrections in turquoise really make you feel better? Here's where things get wild. Some psychologists believe that red ink isn't just visually aggressive. It might actually make people perform worse. A study found that when students were given feedback in red ink, they were more likely to feel discouraged and focus on failure instead of improvement. Meanwhile, students who got feedback in blue ink were more open to fixing mistakes. So basically, your brain sees red and thinks, "Oh no, I'm doomed," while blue ink is like, hey buddy, let's learn from this. But let's be real. If you didn't study, no ink color was gonna save you. So, should we ditch red ink? Honestly, no. Red ink isn't the villain here. The problem isn't the color, it's how we see mistakes. Corrections aren't attacks. They're just, hey, here's how to get better. But thanks to years of school trauma, red ink feels like a personal betrayal. Maybe the real solution isn't banning red ink. It's making feedback more constructive. Like, instead of writing, this is wrong, Zrenia, учителями можно написать, almost there. Try this instead. Basically, let's fix how we correct, not the color we use to do it. So, why is red ink the universal correction color? It grabs attention faster than any other color, making it perfect for catching mistakes. It has a long history in official writing and manuscript editing, dating back to emperors, medieval scribes, and even early printed books. And let's not forget, red ink has been the standard for over a century, and traditions, especially in education, don't change overnight. Some schools have tried switching to softer colors like green or purple, hoping to make corrections feel less harsh. But let's be honest, no matter the color, seeing your mistakes marked up is never fun. At the end of the day, the ink isn't the problem. It's how we respond to feedback that matters most. But whether you love it, hate it, or still have nightmares about it, red ink isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay, like pop quizzes, last-minute essays, and that one teacher who always made you read aloud. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe even correct my mistakes in the comments. I dare you. Just kidding. And hey, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.